One thing I want to talk about, which kind of rehashes a video that we had run earlier, which was comps. And we briefly went over this, which was something I discussed about the living quality of a house versus maybe the renovation quality. And Jay did a fantastic analogy of saying you move into a house and it's like a car. The minute you drive it off the lot, it's losing value. So maybe not quite as extreme, but the same analogy stands. This comes down to construction and the quality of construction. It is really, really important in certain areas of where you're flipping have everything to do with whether you're going to sell that at the number you think you're going to get or not. I know certain areas that I deal in that if you don't do the exact finishes as that house that sold to you next door in that professional manner, and you think that, hey, I can cut the corner and put some pergo floors in instead of hardwood, or I can use, this line of, refrigerator and stove versus this line, you're wrong. And you're going to literally lose, you will sell it for less money. So where you thought your comp was at 250 or 260, I might see it and I might agree with you if it was new construction and fully blown out into these finishes. The moment you try to cut a corner in certain areas like this, you don't go from 250 or 260 to 245. You go from 250 or 260 to 220 to 210. And that's a huge gap in what you were anticipating. So it's extremely important that you pay attention to the finished product of your renovations and that your budget, you don't want to come in saying, I'm going to buy a little bit higher and cut the corners on construction. That is not the way to do it. You buy low and anticipate a higher number on construction because you want to be over budget and have that money in your pocket. I'm sure, Jay, you have a few things to add to that.
I think two important things that we've recognized and realized as of recently. So, back in the day, years ago, you could have just a lipstick on a pig project and it would sell at market value, and then the market would be increased by the nicer houses. These days, it's the opposite. Mm-hmm. You're going to sell at market value if you have the best property in that neighborhood. And then everybody who doesn't, even if it's renovated and it looks great on paper, as soon as they come in there, they're going to check out every imperfection. And we've seen things sell as little as 20% less. Mm-hmm. Even some rehab projects we've personally been involved in, that we ran into some issues with. We were like, the exit's $199. To this day, I still think it's $199, but it had to be done perfectly. It had to be staged, everything at that medium housing price in this certain neighborhood, and we ended up selling it for $179. Learn that way, right? Still profit to be made in the deal, but a little bit less than we all expected. So, the renovation is the most important thing. The second thing that you really need to be aware of is if you're not a builder or an experienced renovator or you're doing this on I would say more than 20 projects a year, you cannot compare your finishes and your quality of renovations to somebody who is. There's a lot of investors that do 100 deals a year and that we do loans for, and they are selling for a premium and they're getting a premium for it. Do not use that as a comp. You will not be able to improve the property as well as they are. You guys, chances are they're putting in probably $100,000 into a 1,500 square foot property, and that $100,000, if you were able to do that, probably would cost you $130,000 to do the same quality thing. You don't have a budget to do that, right? And they're getting a premium for their product. They're well known. They have buyers that are chasing them around and says, hey, let me know the next property you sell because I want to buy it and I'm willing to pay a premium for it. So it's things that you really need to take consideration for, and you just make sure the easiest way to do it is see what your competition is doing in that area and copy it. Take emotion out of it. If they have a blue ceiling or a blue wall, paint yours blue. Use the exact same tile, the exact same everything. Yep. Copy the darn thing because it works, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with changing something that's currently working.
Yeah, and back to what Jay was saying, which I think was a really good point. And he was actually dabbling or touching on the conditions of the market. And what he was saying is that for the past several years, the market has covered up maybe not quite as polished renovations with appreciation, because now those renovated properties are what are setting the new market, hence the needle of the market going up. What we're kind of noticing now, and I know you've been noticing as well, is that the market's not coming down, but it's stabilized. And when you're stabilized, that means the high-end products aren't pushing new numbers. The high-end products are the numbers. So what Jay is kind of saying in a nutshell is we're stable in the market. We're not. The needle is not going to continue to go up, and then you can sell that rehab that wasn't quite as good as that high-end product, because the only place you can go from an already high-end product selling next to yours is either, if it is not the exact same product, is a number under that product, and that's how the market works. So it's important to recognize that, and it's okay because you can still make money at doing it. Just recognize what your capability is, and then back your numbers out correctly to what you think it's going to sell for.